if you are single, and if you are looking for love, we get judged on how many people we date, how many dates do we go out, and at what point do we sleep. There's just so much judgment on us. Whereas for men, they don't go through the same thing. Nobody cares if they date 50 or 500 women. Attention, all my good girls. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Radiant Women. I am your host, Vanja Beric. I'm a counselor and I help women build on their self-belief. If you are struggling with this good girl persona or this good girl image, or you're just struggling with expectation in general, whether that's expectation to live up to other people's expectations, to let go of other people's expectations, in whatever way you just feel the burden of there is someone or something that people want you to be, and that's not necessarily you, please listen to this episode. We're going to talk about the concept of good girl, which essentially is all about expectations. How did we come to it? At what point did we put this mask on of perfection, and important steps to let go? So join me for another episode of Radiant Women. Thank you so much for being here. So for me, I probably had the most boring early 20s or 20s in general you have ever heard of. No, I guess it was more early 20s. And I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I never tried drugs. I didn't have a string of bad relationships. I didn't do anything illegal. Never worn a short skirt. Never really worn anything to draw negative attention to myself. I considered, or I looked on the outside pristine, pretty boring, pretty miserable on the inside, but on the outside, I looked like a good girl, a typical good girl. And I want to share with you today how other people's expectations, defined who I was. I really took my good girl image very seriously. It's not like I didn't have desire to do these things, but I was afraid of losing control and looking bad. Now, here's the thing. I didn't grow up in some strict cult or had, controlling religious values. But at some point in my life, I learned to act perfect. Now, keyword here is act perfect. The pretending, the act part. Bringing perfect grades from school, try only things that I would be good at to avoid chances of failure. I know that a lot of you do that out there. I remember when I did my driving test, I didn't tell anyone about it, just in case I failed. But of course I didn't. But it was, it wasn't even about failing for me so much. The first time, it was really more about people thinking that I'm not capable, or people, just having that one flaw that you possibly show to the world, and that to me was just I couldn't handle that. So I would want to say that I didn't like who I was, but the truth is I didn't really know who I was. I was what everyone else wanted me to be. Parents wanted, the perfect grades. I got them. No drinking as not to embarrass myself. Done. Check. Don't wear anything revealing so I don't attract anyone's attention. Check. The good girl in me had no emotion as well, or she didn't display any emotion. So no high highs, no low lows. At least I've tried very, very, very hard not to display any emotion. And funnily enough, if I did, it was an outburst of emotion, because everything was so bottled up that, when you, and I'm sure this resonated with some of you, when you do, it's just like, it's explosion, it's everywhere, and it's messy. And so, no high highs, no low lows, not in public anyway, just cold as ice. There was a time when my dad told me, I never have to worry about you. You are made of steel. And to be honest, I wish I was, because that would have been easier. Now, as I did my studies through my counseling, imagine my surprise when all this research showed up studying this concept of good girl syndrome, or this good girl phenomena. And there is a researcher, Rachel Simmons. She defined it as a good girl was socially and academically successful. She was smart, she was driven, she was pretty, and she was kind. But she was also an individual who aimed to please. Check, that's me, that was me, yep, all of that. Towed the line and didn't take any risks, 100%. She repressed her feelings and did not handle her mistakes with humor. No, I did not know how to do that. She should be something, but not too much. She is everything and nothing. Because she is this person that I have created, or we create, to hide who we truly are. And I think also, as I've mentioned, sometimes we don't even know who we are, because we have had this persona for so long. We had this mask for so long on that we don't really know what the person behind this mask looks like, or what she likes, or what she doesn't like, or what she's good at, or what she needs to work on. It's just we have this mask, and we just had it for so long. It's kind of like part of us. So what does a good girl image look like? Now, I think we have this fear. If you have this good girl, I'll call it syndrome, but if you have this good girl mask on that you show to the world, I was certainly, and what I found with my clients is what they're afraid of is judgment. So, and which we're afraid of other people's judgment, but we're also learned that having this mask on of being able to do everything and do it perfectly and do it to a ridiculously overcompensating standard. So it's not even a high standard, it's an overcompensating standard, because we to perfect everything, we do things that aren't really even worth it at some point. There's a point that enough is good enough, or good enough is enough, I should say, the other way around. So good enough is enough, but we don't, because we don't feel enough. So we're always trying to compensate, and we're always trying to really reach some level where what I think we want from other people is for them to recognize that we are so good, and we are the good girl, and we are either so good at what we're doing, or we're so good at who we're portraying to be, or we're so good, such a good person, such a kind person. And if they do that, then we feel accepted. Then we feel good. And it's kind of, because that also morphs into this idea of this good girl image and upholding that. It can morph into people pleasing, because we don't want to disappoint people, because then they may label us as difficult. They may label us as opinionated, or whatever it is, and we're not comfortable with that, because that doesn't uphold to our good girl image. So we really try, and everything revolves around upholding this good girl image. So where do we get this idea of good girl? At what point do we put the mask on and really make it the part of ourselves, so we don't even realize that we have it on? And So I think, and this research shows that as well. So it's not just necessarily my opinion, but it's developed at childhood, and it's developed, and different things influence it. So it can be from parents, from society, from just, from school, from the atmosphere you're in. Just women are just judged so harshly about everything, their looks, their intelligence, sexual partners. Everything about us is put under a microscope, and everything is examined by others like it's someone else's business, or it impacts someone else, whether we are pretty or not, or whether we've had 5, 10, or 20 or 200 sexual partners or not. I think for men it's a little bit different, because they get certain labels if they do the same things we do, right? So if it's about intelligence, if we are not intelligent, or if we appear to be not intelligent, then we just get labeled as dumb. And if a guy is not intelligent, they could get labeled as street smart, right? We sometimes get those labels as well, but I feel like we're judged more harshly. Certainly looks is such a big thing for women. There is so much research that shows one of the two things that really women struggle with the most in our life is our looks, our appearances, and our outside. And the second thing is motherhood. Am I a good mother? And if you are not a mother, then you really struggle. You have this just one thing that really weighs down on us is how, our appearances. And, and for sexual partners, I think we all know that. I think we're all, if we have had more number of partners than society deems or community deems necessary to say, and it's different numbers for different people and different places, and depending on where you grew up and where you are living now. And for us, of course, for us women, we get slut shamed, and I think even in our 30s and 40s, it can still be a topic to discuss, especially if you're single. If you are with a partner or a long-term partner, I feel like those discussions don't come up as much, because nobody is really asking, because it's impolite to ask. But if you are single, and if you are looking for love, we get judged on how many people we date, how many dates do we go out, and at what point do we sleep. There's just so much judgment on us, whereas for men, they don't go through the same thing. Nobody cares if they date 50 or 500 women, and they even give them a title of the player or whatever it is that is meant in a good way, whereas for us, slut shaming us is obviously meant in a derogatory way. So this idea of then trying to escape those labels turns us into good girls. So everything we do is not to bring shame, or everything that we try and avoid to do is not to bring shame to yourself or to the family, whether that's shame within community, whether that's shame, outside of us. We really grew up in this space of not bringing shame. And I think a lot of us were shamed when we did do something that the parents considered not right, that we were shamed. It wasn't just that you were punished, that there was a lot of shame put on you, because we all know when we've done something wrong, it was easier to get punished in whatever way that was than to get that look of disapproval, right? It was easier just yell at me, scream, send me to my room, take away my toys or electronics, but please say something. Please don't be quiet. Because that shame is stronger than any punishment. And that shame, as we grow on, and if we have it enough in childhood, will define who we are, or we'll take it on as part of us, and we'll create a mask, the good girl mask, to avoid feeling of shame, or this belief that you are not good. So that's why we put on the good girl image, because if we believe that we are not good, then no one will want us, which means that we are not worthy of love, especially to a child. If you are shamed for doing something and you feel embarrassment, or you feel really shame, there's no better word for it. To us as children, or to children in general, it really feels like I did such a bad thing that I couldn't possibly be worthy of love. And this is also for any parents who are listening out there, that being mindful when you are disciplining your children, that you don't bring any shame into whatever they've done. It's about right and wrong. That's when we take on this shame and we make it part of ourselves. We make it a part of who we are. That is our biggest judgment. And that's where our biggest fear comes from, is from the shame. We walk around trying to prove our perfection, trying to prove to the world that we are worthy of love. You know, if you are in a good girl space, or if you have the mask off on a good girl, because you know the expectations that everyone else has on you. The one thing, if you're wondering, do I have this mask on, is asking yourself, do you feel a lot of shame? Do you feel a lot of shame when you do something wrong? When you do something wrong, do something that's not ideal. To me, there is no right or wrong. Shakespeare said this. There's no such thing. I'm paraphrasing it. There's no such thing as right or wrong. Thinking makes it so. And I love this idea that we try and paint the world black and white, but it's really not. Yes, there are some things that are wrong because they hurt others. Of course, things like abuse, things like murder and things like that. Yes, of course, they're wrong because they hurt others. But majority of the decisions that we make in life, and the choices that we make in life, and the paths that we take in life, is not 100% right, and it's not 100% wrong. There is always the gray in the middle, and that's where we live 99.999% of the time. So we can't define ourselves as good or bad, because we don't live in a good world where everything is good, where something is good or bad. It just is. And for me, I don't know when I noticed that, or when I realized that I have this good girl persona. I looked at my life and I didn't feel much about it. Maybe I started noticing when I wanted to do something and I would ask for approval or permission, and it wasn't in a direct way. It wasn't in a, can I do this? It was just more in a subtle way. I would put my idea out there and see other people's reactions. And, did I disappoint them? Did I make them mad? What was their reaction to this idea? And then that would determine whether I could take it or not. So I was seeking approval, or it would still determine whether I would take it or not. But it was still seeking approval, but I wasn't directly asking people, can I do something? And that's essentially because when we have this good girl persona on, we have no self-belief in ourselves. We're asking other people for validation. We're asking other people for approval. We're asking for other people to make us feel seen. So we don't believe that we are those things unless someone else gives us that. So now that we have an understanding of where it stemmed from, we have an idea of why we do it, what steps do we now take to help us to drop the good girl act, to help us start taking the mask off? And I know this is going to sound scary, but start seeing the person underneath the mask. And so at the first steps in terms of dropping that good girl act is about creating awareness about when you are doing something because you're expecting validation from other people. You are expecting, wow, you are so good. Wow, whatever, you're so pretty. You are so something. Or when do you think you are not, what steps do you think you are not taking because you think it will bring shame, but you want to take them? And that could be, there is so much shame about still, and again, depending on where you grew up, there's so much shame about divorce. There's so much shame about, even if you are incredibly unhappy in your marriage or your partnership, and even if you are, and especially if you have kids, there is so much shame about asking for help. There is so much shame about just saying, I am not okay in this relationship. Because there is shame in leaving. Or there is shame in even, as I said, just asking for help, just, going to a counselor or something. I've certainly grew up with so much of that. You just, you keep going through it. You keep your head down and things will just apparently, things will just resolve themselves. It will just be better. One day you wake up and it will just be better. And I think there was this promise to us women that once we get married, and once we have kids, that our problems will disappear, right? Because we'll have that someone to lean on. We'll have that someone to support us. We'll have someone that loves us. That's what we want. We have someone that loves us, that accepts us unconditionally. And then when we get into marriage and we realize this person next to us has their own issues, has their own flaws, is seeking love and approval and validation in different ways than us. And then we get disappointed. So really creating awareness about when you're acting the good girl, why you are acting like it. So if you can pinpoint, try and remember at what point did you start putting the mask on? What point did you create this persona, and thinking about how long have you had it on? So the first step is to create awareness. And then we start working through that. We start really creating awareness about what we want, because we have played this puppet for so long. We have played this character for so long that we forget, or we don't get to find out who we are, and we don't get to find out what we like and what our opinions are on certain things. So if we start even thinking about what we want and how do we feel about certain things, that starts building on our self-belief. That helps us to gain that confidence that we want, is by being aware of ourselves, our core selves, our authentic selves, not this person that we have created to please others. The good girl image we have created it is a self-defense mechanism, but we have created it as a way in childhood to defend ourselves against shame and disappointment and embarrassment and judgment. And we will receive all of these things if we live in slightly outside of our designated area, outside of our little box that people have put us in. And we are no longer this child. We don't need to stay in this box. We can break free, and we can be the person who we want to be and live the life that we want to live. And it starts by creating awareness of where you are, creating awareness of what role you've been playing, and creating awareness of who you want to be. If this good girl image or this good girl mask resonates with you, I have a mini masterclass that is about finding your voice. And because finding our voice is part of ourselves. It's part of who we are. It's part of our authentic self. So if we can at least, as a first step, find that voice and find out what we want and what we like, we can create, or we can start building our self-belief. So you can jump on my social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Vanja Beric. You'll be able to grab details there. You could just email us, admin@vanjaberic.com, or on our website, plenty of places where you can register for the masterclass. It's absolutely free. There is also, if you're really struggling with this, I really encourage you to grab the VIP ticket as well. It is, so you get to spend a session with me one-on-one. We get to tackle the problem or the path or whatever it is head on. And I can guide you through, and we can work through a plan or something for you to take away that is absolutely tailored to yourself. And we can start finding yourself, start finding that authentic voice. So the masterclass is called Find Your Voice. You can find it on Facebook, the details. It's 17th of December or December 17th, depending on where you're listening. And there's 2 times that you can choose from. So I kind of created 2 times to accommodate different time zones. So register for that. There'll be a link in the description for that, because the world's, not just the world, you need to find your voice. Your family needs you to find your voice, to be your authentic self, and to break free of the box that you have put on yourself. Thank you so much for listening and for having me on, and I will see you next week.